All right, well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you are. My name is Eddie Pickett. I'm the Assistant Vice President and the Director of Admissions at Pomona College. Today, we're here to talk about the Claremont Colleges. So, welcome to our online Claremont Colleges Consortium. We're going to pop up some slides in a second. And so, as we pop up the slides, we'll talk through what we're going to do today. In that, we will give an overview of the Claremont colleges. We'll talk about our shared resources. We'll do the individual college presentations. And so, my five colleagues on here are all going to introduce themselves once we get to their individual schools. And then we'll also have some Q&A. During this session, there'll also be questions and answering in the bottom. So if you use the Q&A function, you can ask questions in there. And in that, we also have people in the background who are from each school answering questions in there as well. So if you have questions, don't use the chat, please use the Q&A function, and we'll either answer them in there or we'll answer them live depending on what the question is. All right. Present. Sorry, my computer is taking forever to actually open these slides. I have it open and it doesn't want to show them. Give me one sec. I need some help. My slides just froze. Whatever. For somebody in the background, please help me just put the slides up. I can't do it from my computer. I'll just keep moving. Um, Sorry. So, we are located in Southern California. We're 35 miles east of Los Angeles. And being 35 miles east of Los Angeles, you have all the access to LA. And so you're talking the cultural hub, you're talking about sports, you're talking about entertainment, you're close to the beaches. Outside of that, you're also close to Coachella, you're close to Joshua National Tree, or Joshua Park, Joshua Tree National Park as well. So you have a lot of different resources within our area. But we are in Claremont, California, and in Claremont, it's called the City of Trees and PhDs. And so, being in the City of Trees and PhDs, we are on the Claremont College campus. There are five undergrad campuses. There are also two graduate campuses, one directly on our campus and one off of our campus. And so that's Keck Graduate Institute. Thank you very much for putting the slides up. Next slide. And so in Claremont, with these with the seven colleges and the five undergrads, so you can see the amount of people here, the amount of restaurants. You have plenty of active social life, both on and off campus. What I do love about Claremont is that most things are set up for college students, and so it's a very college town. As you can see in the bottom left is the Claremont Village. It actually goes a little further than what you can see here. And so you have the movie theater, there's multiple cafes in there, lots of different restaurants. My tailor is in there, dry cleaning, all those different things that you need are all in there. Um, the history of the Claremont colleges as well is that we were founded in different eras, and so you'll hear about that as each of us pops in. But each one has its own different theme. We do share some pieces, which I'll talk about in a second, but also we're very distinct schools, and they're all very different places. As a former college counselor, I always tell students, you apply to one school in Claremont. We're not all the same, and that is on purpose. If we're all the same, then why will we have five? Next slide. And so what we do have in common amongst the five of us that are here is that we're all undergraduate campuses. And so while there is one graduate school on campus, you're not really going to see them to be very frank. We don't have any graduate assistants teaching classes. You're taught by full professors. And so that is a strength of this space. You also have small classes. And so in those small classes, you can see the average faculty to student ratio. It's somewhere 10 to 1 or less. The average class size is 18, so you're going to get to know your professors. You're going to get to know your peers. You're going to be part of their life. They're going to be part of yours. It's very common to walk to a professor and say, "Hey, do you want to go to lunch?" And they'll say yes. You'll also probably babysit their kids. You might go to dinner at their house. That is a very common thing across our five schools. Each of us have funded research and internships, and sometimes you hear liberal arts and sciences schools. You don't hear research, but that is a big piece of our campus, is that we want to create new knowledge, and that's what research is. Same thing with internships. Like, well, I'm going to have, for the parents will say, how's my student going to get a job? Well, we'll help them with internships. Each of us has our own career development office to help you actually launch into your career. And so we want to teach you how to think, but also how to apply those skills. Majors wise, you hear liberal arts and sometimes and sciences is dropped. So we have majors across arts, humanities, social science, and natural science, and lots of interdisciplinary fields. Again, we want to teach thinkers. And so you're going to go out and, the job market is going to change as your life changes and as the years go on. And so how do we prepare you to think through your job and not just think about a job? Each one has study abroad, and we also have Division III athletics across two different or across all the five campuses. Next slide. So as we think about the arts and sciences classrooms, there's seminar styles. And so even if you were to have a lecture, the lecture might have up to 30 people in it. They're going to be small spaces, and that's a maximum. And so they're going to be small spaces. We want to get to know the professors, want to get to know students. Students want to get to know professors and your peers. One of the things we do love about being here is that while each of us is a small school with 1,700 students to 900 students, you actually have about 6,000 students on campus. And so you have that medium-sized feeling while you're here. The benefit of being here is the shared resources. And so at a liberal arts school, there's usually 600 to maybe 800 or 900 classes. But since there are five of us all on the same campus, we share the same academic schedule. So if you get out of class at 2:30, the next class starts at 2:45. Or the amount of classes that are available, as you can see, there's over 2,700 classes that are available, and you can cross-register across the different campuses. Each school has its own off-campus major policy. I'll talk about mine at Pomona in a second. And then there's some shared 5C majors, and oftentimes they're arts programs. Some of them are interdisciplinary majors, but the one thing we all have in common within this is that yes, you have strong academics, you have some really interesting professors, and then our professors are all doing academic advising. And so you're going to have an academic advisor who knows a subject area, but also the broadness of how do you get involved in a liberal arts and sciences degree. And that's by taking lots of different courses to understand those pieces. Next slide. Recreation and just life on campus. There are 17 different eateries and dining halls. There's seven 5C dining halls. Your ID gets you into everything. There's swipe access, except for into the dorms and other campuses. And so your ID is your golden ticket to most things, except for the dorms. There's over 250 clubs on campus. There's shared affinity spaces. They're like the Office of Black Student Affairs, Chicano Latino Student Affairs, Asian American Resource Center. And the Queer Resource Center as well. And so you have different identity groups who have houses on campus, who have professional staff as well to come help with you. There are multiple chaplains on campus. There's multiple religious services on campus. So talk about sports before. And so we have five colleges, and there are two athletic departments. So Pomona and Pitzer pair up, and then Claremont Mudd Scripps pair up. One of the cool things is that both of us are top 15 D3 athletic departments. So we have really good sports. We're also all student athletes. And so, when you play them, you literally get dressed in your gym and you walk to the game. You better win the game because you're going to see them in class afterwards. You're going to see them in the dining halls. You're going to see them at your social events. And so that's a fun rivalry because you're all on the same campus. There's lots of shared mental health resources as well, and they're right in the middle of campus. And so between the five schools, that's where the mental health center is located. It's called Trinquatum. And then if you're not a varsity athlete, there's also lots of intramural sports to get involved in as well. Next slide. And now I'm going to pass it off to my colleague Kevin over at Harvey Mudd.
All right, thank you, Eddie, for sharing about the wonderful community at the Five Cs here. Really quickly to introduce myself, my name is Kevin, pronouns are he, him. I'm an assistant director of admission here at Harvey Mudd College, which I'll share about in just a little bit. But I now want to go ahead and, now that you've learned a little bit about our community, had that introduction, share a little bit about admissions and what our admissions staff is here to really do and help y'all with through this process. So first thing that I want to start off with sharing that even though we are very good collaborators, very good colleagues. We don't share information with each other. You can apply to us all. We have these shared policies and practices so that it's easier for you to consider all of us, but we are not collaborating in terms of like our internal processes. We're not having secret conversations about you. So if you love what Eddie had to say so much, you can apply to all five of us. And if that increases your chances of coming to Claremont and enjoying the Claremont colleges, we encourage that. But we are still, at the end of the day, five separate schools with separate but very similar processes. So some of those similarities you'll see on the screen right now, we're all on Common App. We utilize something known as holistic review, which means that we review your application in its entirety in context of each of the pieces that you submit. So everything that you're submitting to us matters. We have different supplemental essays, but we all have supplemental essays. And I would encourage you to, as you're considering each of these individual schools, look at our supplemental essays, because I think you can learn a lot about what each of our institutions prioritizes and values through this very specific additional questions we're asking. We meet 100% demonstrated financial need for all students. That is 100%. There are early and regular decision options. So early decision is binding if you choose to go that pathway. Please have that conversation with your family. And of course, this OCCR is not the only opportunity for you to learn about all five of us. Each of us has our own virtual and online programs for you to come and learn about admissions and each of our schools. But if we could go to the next slide. So I shared a little bit about some of our similarities, and I'll quickly touch upon some of our differences. So of course, again, we are five separate institutions, and that results in some differences between our admissions processes. So you'll see them listed out here. Of course, this is not all of our differences. So again, you'll want to individually research each of these schools, ask questions in the chat below, and we're more than happy to delineate the differences between our institutions. But you'll see the biggest ones to point out on this slide is that some of us do have Coalition and QuestBridge. So if that is a way that you're trying to apply to college, definitely make sure you check out which ones of us are part of that network. Some of us have interviews. Actually, out of the five of us ask for or offer interviews. Pomona is the only one that doesn't have interviews, as you can see on the screen here. And then only one of us considers demonstrated interest. So you'll see that here with Pitzer. The rest of us do not measure demonstrated interest. And the last thing also with Pitzer is that test-free policy. The rest of us have different policies regarding test scores, so SAT, ACT. So again, please do your research prior to applying. But with that, that's again, overview of similarities and differences. I want to now give the spotlight for each of the institutions to share about themselves and what makes them special here at Claremont. Thank you.
All right, so in founding order, Pomona was the founding member and the largest of the Claremont colleges. We were founded to bring the traditional liberal arts and sciences education from New England to Southern California. After that, we are trying to start a school basically every decade, and so you're going to hear about the decades as we go through this presentation. I think the big piece about Pomona is that we're the all-encompassing liberal arts and sciences school. And so we think about the breadth and the depth of studies. Our strategic vision asks Pomona students, faculty, and staff and alumni to, in quotes, distinguish themselves as leaders who know how to ask big questions, confront big challenges, and solve big problems. And that's an end quote. And so, with that in mind, Pomona is continuing to create space for all students to flourish by expanding access and inclusion opportunities, domestic and internationally. I think, in a nutshell, what we care about the most at Pomona is curiosity, inclusion, and creating opportunities. And that comes out in lots of different ways. And so one is through curiosity. And so, as you first enter our campus, you enter these gates on 6th Street, and the gates say, let only the eager, thoughtful, and reverent enter here. And so you can see that curiosity from the moment you step onto campus through that. We want students who are going to ask questions. We want people who are going to, come in with curiosity. We want to nurture that curiosity. We want you to leave a lifelong learner. One of the ways that you'll see a stat with that is that two-thirds of our students will go to grad school within 10 years, whether that's an MD, so a medical degree, a JD, a law degree, an MBA, a master's, you name it. We want that curiosity to continue on. You start on campus. The first class is called Critical Inquiry Seminar, ID1. And those are to embed curiosity and writing from the moment you start. And they're not just English classes or borders and belonging in Latinx America, theater in the age of climate change. And so you can see that interdisciplinary learning starting from the very beginning within those classes. One of the distinguishing factors about Pomona versus the other five Cs is that you have to choose a Pomona specific major. We have 48 of them on our campus, but you have to choose a Pomona major. So you can't major off campus. You, however, can take classes off campus. And so usually it's up to about a third of your classes off of Pomona's campus. Next slide. Just think about, talk about curiosity as well, but the other piece is on inclusion and commitment to access and equity. And so we want you to learn from and with each other. In high school, you guys are in class for about 30 hours a week. In college, you're going to be in class between 10 and 15 hours a week. And so your peers are going to matter just as much. And so, we think about all these different forms of diversity and inclusion. And so just some of these stats, but not all of them. We have over all 50 states represented. There's multiple territories. There's over 60 countries. Over 50% of our students are students of color. We're actually approaching 25% of our students being first gen to college as well. And so every class for the last 4 years has been at least 20%, with this newest one being 28%. And then also with the transfer students, our transfers have been two-thirds community college. And so we're trying to think about who are the different voices to come in and learn with and from each other. One of those ways that we get you incorporated into the campus is also your sponsor group. And your sponsor group is your first year hall. And then you have a mentor on who's not living with you, but is assigned to your hall. And so you have both an RA who's there for both fun and discipline. And then the sponsor is just to have an upper class mentor from a sophomore to a senior. And they, will bring you to lunch. You'll be a person you can turn to, just like, how do I navigate this campus? Who are some of the classes I should think about? What should I do for fun? How do I go ahead and register after I've talked to my advisor? So there's lots of different pieces that sponsors are involved with. One of the ways we get you involved outside the classroom is through the Career Development Office. And the Career Development Office has multiple programs from internships, and they also collaborate with other career development offices on campus. But two of our signature programs are SERP, the Summer Undergraduate Research Project. And that one, last year we had over 200 students doing research. 45% of them are doing their own original research. And then PSIP is a Pomona College internship program. And so if you get a non-paid or an underpaid internship, we will pay you to do that. So we don't want you to lose any opportunities. A fun day on campus is a ski beach day. You literally go skiing in the morning, you do a bonfire in the evening on the beach. And so there's not a lot of places that can do that. Obviously, all five of us could do that. So that's one of the fun days on our campus. And then the rivalry for sports is actually a fun one too. As I talked about earlier, like you're going to see them in classes, and so there's a healthy connection to Pomona Pitzer or to Claremont Mudd Scripps in that space. The last two things I'll talk about are financial aid and admissions. And so financial aid, we meet full need. Um, with no loans as well. So don't put any loans in financial aid packages. This year, all books for Pomona classes are going to be free through the ACE initiative, so the access to course essentials. Um, and then also for incoming students, both first year and transfers, you will get a free laptop that'll be yours to keep as you enter and then when you leave this place. Admissions wise, we have five valued qualities. You can Google search Pomona College valued qualities. And in there, you'll find these five things. So intellectually capable, academically committed, i.e., can you do the work? Most people, the answer to that is yes, that will be evident. And then from there, the next four, in no particular order, are investment in community and network builder. So what are you doing to get involved in your community, school, family? Personal traits is our character check. So do you have strong morals, role model qualities, ethics, and values? Commitment to collaborative engagement and perspective, i.e., you're bringing a perspective. And so are you going to work in an inclusive and collaborative community? And the last one's probing inquiry and creative learning, i.e., curiosity. So we're going to mark your applications evident or not evident for those five things. And with that said, I'm going to pass it over to my colleague at Scripps to talk more about the Scripps College.
Great, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Suzanne Swartz. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a senior assistant director here at Scripps. So, Scripps was founded in 1926 by Ellen Browning Scripps. And she was a philanthropist, a journalist, and a suffragist. 1920s were, of course, during the time of the women's suffrage movement. So that's a key connection with our history. She was 89 years old when she founded Scripps at the end of a long career of dedication to causes including educational access. And she envisioned Scripps as a supportive, empowering, collaborative women's college community within the consortium. So, carrying on that legacy through today, our community pillars are leadership, service, integrity, and creativity. Also, when using the term women's college, our admission policy is transgender inclusive. So there is gender diversity within our student body that includes transgender and non-binary students as part of our mission as a women's college, focusing on the marginalized gender experience and supporting and empowering our students for their time in college and beyond. So we've got about 1,100 students at Scripps with an average class size of 16. Discussion-based classes are central to our academic experience, and we want students bringing their voices to Scripps and using and amplifying them within and outside the classroom. Again, empowering our students as another key part of our admission as a women's college. We offer over 60 majors, including programs that students can complete through the other 5 Cs if not explicitly offered at Scripps. And our own popular programs include biology, psychology, English, environmental analysis, economics, neuroscience, media studies, art, and politics. Many students come to Scripps with multiple interests. So there's very much a yes and mentality that is really encouraged when pursuing them. So if you're not sure what you want to study, that is absolutely okay. Exploration is highly valued, and students don't have to declare a major until the end of the sophomore year. So there's plenty of time there. And over a quarter of students will also dual or double major. Dual majors interconnect their fields of study, and double majors kind of keep them more distinct. And many others will pursue a major minor combination. Being interdisciplinary is important at each of the colleges as liberal arts institutions, but it's really the foundation of how we approach a liberal arts education at Scripps. And this interdisciplinary focus really starts with our first year core curriculum, which is a 2-semester interdisciplinary humanities course sequence. Again, very discussion based and one of the first opportunities for students to really share their perspectives, use their voices, really encouraging them to continue to do so as they move forward through their time at Scripps. Courses surround a particular theme in core. And so you may hear the perspective of professors in different areas, maybe a political scientist, philosopher, and art historian, all around a central theme. So students think critically, make connections, and pursue a research project as part of that core. And you can go to the next slide. So gaining experience through internships, study abroad, and research is a key part of the Scripps experience. About 80% of students will complete at least one internship, and many will complete more than that. And there are a number of resources available to students through our Career Planning and Resources Office, including career counseling, help with resumes and cover letters, practice for interviews, and funding for summer internships. We have an amazing alumni network through initiatives such as Olive Grove, sort of like a LinkedIn for Scripps, where students can connect with graduates in their field. They offer, there's a career closet where students can, for example, borrow a blazer for interviews. And there are workshops with our mission as a women's college in mind, such as negotiating salary in a male-dominated field. So at least 60% of students will also study abroad. We have some amazing opportunities, programs all over the world in over 40 countries. It's most common to go in the fall or spring of junior year. And recently students have been to places like Spain, South Korea, France, Mexico, Denmark, South Africa, China, and England, just to name a few. And then research is also a key component of the Scripps experience. 100% of students will complete a senior thesis. This is a requirement, and students will complete an original piece of research before graduating. And so this is a way for students to really take a topic that they're passionate about and run with it. And so seniors have the opportunity also to present their research to the campus community during our capstone day each May. So it's a really exciting time. I do also want to note that I had previously mentioned dual and double majors. Dual majors write one thesis intertwining both fields of study, and double majors write a thesis for each. Just briefly about a couple of traditions. We have Wednesday afternoon tea, which is a weekly tradition during the semester for the community to come together. That image you actually see on the screen is of Seal Court, where tea takes place. It's one of the hubs of campus. And it's just an opportunity for students, faculty, and staff to connect, enjoy the sunshine, and there's always snacks and, of course, tea. And another is our graffiti wall. Each class elects an artist to paint an image on the wall, and each member of the class can sign it. It's really inspiring to see generations of students who came before, sort of like this living time capsule, and it's one of my absolute favorite spots on campus. Lastly, for admission, we have two early decision rounds with one deadline in November and another in January, plus our regular decision deadline in January. We are permanently test optional as of 2020, in keeping with our mission toward educational access. We require two supplemental essays, one asking why you're applying to Scripps, and another is a choice, one of three creative prompts. So we'll meet 100% of demonstrated financial need based on information provided on the FAFSA, CSS profile, and any other documentation that's requested by the Financial Aid Office. And first-year applicants are automatically considered for scholarships ranging from $15,000 to $30,000 per year. And with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to CMC.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Mua, and I'll be representing Claremont McKenna College. So we were then founded in 1946, and this was post-World War II. So essentially, men were coming back from war, and we wanted them to enter into the real world and find jobs, which is why you will see a lot of that public policy analysis play on throughout CMC, as well as a lot of hands-on application too. CMC does also have an unofficial motto of learning for the sake of doing. So rather than learning for learning, students are already getting that hands-on work and learning by doing. We are also very mission driven. So our mission is very prevalent on campus. You'll definitely see it academically, socially, inside your classes, outside your classes, and so on. So CMC's mission is to prepare students for thoughtful and productive lives and responsible leadership in business, government, and the professions. So just a few keywords I really want you to pull from this is going to be responsible leadership. So we're really big on creating future leaders, whether it be during your time here in your community and also when you enter into your careers. And we're also very pre-professional, so students feel very set up to enter into the career force afterwards. In terms of our size, CMC has a size of about 1,300 students. To kind of break that down even further, we enroll 330 students each year. And our average class size is going to be between 17 to 18 students with an 8:1 student to faculty ratio. In terms of our majors and our sequences, we offer 40 plus academic areas of interest. With this, we have 33 of them being majors, and 11 of those are going to be sequences. You do not have to select your major until the second semester of your sophomore year. We do also have a third of our students that are participating in double or dual majors. So just to kind of break that down, for a double major, students are completing 100% of our major requirements. For our dual majors, about 75 to 80% of the major requirements. CMC's most popular majors, you'll see that they're very in tune with our mission, are going to be economics, government, psychological science, and then international relations. And our most popular sequences, which you can kind of think of them as our minors, are going to be data science, financial economics, leadership, and then computer science. Next slide, please. So here at CMC, we really value diversity of thought. A lot of your classes are going to be very small, very tight-knit, discussion-based, and we do also have our Open Academy. So Open Academy is essentially CMC's umbrella organization where all of our programs fall under to help promote leadership. And we do this with our three core commitments: viewpoint diversity, freedom of expression, and constructive dialogue. Just a few programs that I kind of want to throw out there. So we have our Saturday salons. We do also have the Athenaeum, which is essentially a TED Talk over a three-course meal where we bring in over 100 speakers to come speak to our students. It's very student-led, and there's also a beautiful three-course meal that is also served while their speaker does their talk. We do also have our care center that is student-led as well, and our first year and sophomore dinners. So we value diversity of thought. We have about 15% of our students that are international and about 17% of our students that are first generation to attend college. Here at CMC, we represent almost all 50 states and over 45 countries here. In terms of our study abroad programs, we have about 40% of our students that are participating in study abroad. We have a Center of Global Education that houses our study abroad, and with this, they have pre-approved more than 125 programs all over the world, whether it's going to another country and doing a study abroad, and our exchange programs. We do also have our domestic abroad program, the Washington, D.C. program, where students have the opportunity to complete a full-time internship while also completing their curriculum too. In terms of internships, we have about 90% of our students that are participating in internships, and this is because we have such a strong career center, also known as our SAL Center here at CMC. So they have a multitude of resources available for our students, whether it's going to be our first year specialist who will reach out to you the first year you step foot on campus. We do also have our career specialists. We have our sponsored internships and experiences funding, our SIE funding, and with this, we have roughly $2 million in funding for students to have the opportunity to complete some form of internship or experience here. They do also take students on networking treks. So beyond networking on campus, we will also take students off campus to do networking. With these hands-on opportunity and career prep, we have about 97% of our students that do have a concrete plan after graduating from CMC. This is only 6 months after graduating, so a lot of them already have that hands-on opportunities and that career prep with us, whether it's through our internships, whether it's through research, and so on. So in terms of research, we have about 62% of our students that are doing research directly with faculty. However, in terms of research as a whole, we have about 80% of our students that are participating in research. So here at CMC alone, we house 11 research institutes and centers. There's a lot of different options for research, whether it's independent research, research with faculty at one of their labs, sponsored research, a research assistant, a research fellow, or again, research at one of our research institutes, which are going to be fully paid too. Our students are also involved through clubs and organizations. For instance, with the 350 plus shared clubs, we do also have 50 plus CMC clubs, which are only offered to CMC students. So we offer various clubs, whether it's your sports clubs, our affinity groups, our hobbies clubs, our pre-professional clubs, like our student investment fund club, where the school gives students an endowment of more than $3 million to invest. We also have multiple consulting groups. We have mock trial, MOL-UN. We do also have our student government, ASCMC, and also College Programming Board, which is where we'll take students off campus to explore the outside areas. So in the past, they've gone to things like Disneyland, and so on. So overall, CMC students are thoughtful leaders. They gain their hands-on experience and real-world applications during their time here already. They feel thoroughly prepared to enter into the career afterwards, with internships, open academy, and research opportunities. With that being said, I'll go ahead and pass it over to my friends at Harvey Mudd.
All right, thank you for that. We're now talking about Harvey Mudd. Really quickly to reintroduce myself, my name is Kevin, pronouns are he, him. I'm an assistant director of admission at Harvey Mudd. Harvey Mudd was founded in 1955. If any of you are history buffs, you might know that that is during the atomic bomb era. Think Oppenheimer fans in the audience. Yeah, you know who you are. So this is really a time where we were thinking, just because we can, does that mean we should? Right? So at Mudd, our mission statement is to educate scientists, engineers, and mathematicians who are not only well-versed in STEM, right? Science, technology, engineering, mathematics, but also in the humanities, social sciences, and the arts, so that they can understand the impact of their work on society and become leaders in their fields. And so you can see that is where that liberal arts piece comes in, even though we are a STEM school. And you might be wondering, what does that lead to for our students? What kinds of fantastic things do our scientists at Harvey Mudd go on to accomplish? So I want to share one example that our students have worked on in the past as part of our clinic program. 2 years ago, a group of students, of about 5 students, worked on this tiny little robot that can go inside of your brain, identify brain tumors, extract them, cauterize the wound, leave your brain entirely on its own, entirely made out of plastic. Yeah, really cool research that's happening at Harvey Mudd. And even though that seems like a really extreme example, you might be wondering, how can this one day be you? I do want to mention that all of our students participate in research at Mudd. And there's a couple of ways that we help students be able to work on really life-changing, impactful projects such as the one that I mentioned. So there are 4 main components of this. First, as you're going to see on the screen right now, We are a really small campus, right? We're actually the smallest out of all of the Claremont colleges that you're considering today, where we have a student to faculty ratio of 9-1. So this is a place where you're going to know all of your classmates, right? There's only about 200-ish students per class. Your professors are going to know your name on the first day of class. They're going to remember which day of the week you're wearing what sweater. They're going to notice when you forget your coffee in the morning. That's going to apply at all of the Claremont colleges, of course. We're all pretty small schools, but especially at Mudd. We also, being a STEM school, offer 14 majors in STEM. Our most popular are going to be in engineering and computer science, but of course we have biology, chemistry, physics, math, as well as a bunch of joint climate majors that are really exciting. And on top of your STEM curriculum, you'll also be required to do a concentration in the humanities, social sciences, and the arts. So you're kind of getting a mini minor in something beyond just STEM. So that's, again, where that liberal arts piece comes in. We're really thinking about ethics or the interdisciplinary nature of STEM and impact on society. Another thing I'll mention is that we require all of our students to do a core curriculum. That's not unheard of for colleges in general, but specifically at Mudd, that means that even if you're a physics student, you're still going to be taking biology, engineering, computer science classes. So all of our students within their first 2 years are taking the same set of classes across all of our STEM disciplines, as well as some humanities, social sciences, and the arts classes. And so that's something that really helps you be prepared to work on these very interdisciplinary hands-on projects. If we can move to the next slide, please. And as I gave a sneak peek to with mentioning the clinic example, 100% of students are required to do research at Mudd. You're guaranteed to do research. We are an undergraduate-only campus, which means that you're not competing with postdocs or graduate students for research opportunities. You will do something that cool, and that will really set you up for success following Mudd. So all of these factors, all of these parts of our student experiences, you can see leads to really great success outcomes for our students. So you'll see that the average starting salary is over 6 figures. We're ranked #1 in terms of return on investment. And that success is also, coupled with the fact that we have a really strong learning community at Mudd, where you're not only going to be surrounded by instantaneous community. You'll notice that 51% of our student body identifies as female, but you're also going to be in a place where you're meeting other people from around the world who will challenge you, push you outside of your comfort zone. And so that's a little bit about Mudd. Again, definitely feel free to check us out, but I want to pass it off to our last school.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sydney. I am a counselor at Pitzer College. I'm also an alum from Pitzer. I graduated around 3 years ago. We were founded in 1963 at the height of the civil rights movement, the LGBTQ plus movement, the environmental movement, just generally a lot of social activism, especially among college students going on in the United States, a lot of civil unrest. So that's really at the foundation of who we are, creating socially responsible citizens. Our 5 core values, which I'll get into in a little bit, are our claim to fame, what we are all about. We have about 1,200 students here at Pitzer with 40 majors. You can also major across the other campuses too if you don't find your specific major that you like at Pitzer, but there is, you do resonate with the community, you can always expand into the other Claremont colleges. We also have the really cool option to create your own major at Pitzer too, which a lot of our students will take advantage of. This really goes with our interdisciplinary core value. If you want to go to the next slide, I'll start talking about those. But interdisciplinary learning here at Pitzer is pretty unique in my opinion. Like I said, you have the option to create your own major. A lot of students will take advantage of this if they are really interested in a specific niche or sort of the combination of 2 different fields. For example, we've had feminism and public health. One of my best friends created his own major all in food studies. So he was really interested in how food ties cultures together and urban farming and things like this. So he was able to create his whole major around food. We also have the option to do a combined major as well. We also have a lot of co-taught classes in general, so professors from different disciplines coming together to teach something really unique. One of my favorite examples is our history of surfing class taught by an Asian American studies professor and a ceramics professor, where you get to learn all about the history of surfing and the cultural significance, as well as construct a surfboard and take it to the beach and surf with it. So that's how interdisciplinary learning looks at Pitzer. Another one of our core values is social responsibility. So this is the one that really attracted me to Pitzer when I was a high school student. I really wanted to be around like-minded people, really wanted to create a change in the world. We have a lot of really great programs to help students live up to this as well, including our social responsibility theory and praxis course. This was initiated by students. We used to have a requirement where you had to volunteer for 40 hours to graduate, but students felt like this was a little bit unguided. So students pushed to have this being changed to learning about a community in the classroom and then gaining an internship with this community instead of just blindly volunteering. We also have the Inside Out program, which is really phenomenal, one of my favorites to talk about. The Inside Out program allows a cohort of Claremont students to take courses alongside a cohort of incarcerated students. This program used to take place at a prison in Norco, which is about 40 minutes away from our campus, but they're doing some adjustment with the program right now. So it might look a little bit different in the coming years. But this program has allowed a pathway for incarcerated students to earn a bachelor's degree through Pitzer. And it's so cool to see a program like this actually work in practice and not just in theory, and see the formerly incarcerated grads walk alongside us at graduation, earn Fulbright scholarships, and do some pretty amazing things. We also have a really great community farm called Huerta del Valle in Ontario, which is about 20 minutes away from our campus. That was founded by some Pitzer alums. A lot of our students will gain internships in Huerta del Valle, as well as just go to learn how to garden and participate in providing the community with some fresh produce. We also have our campus garden as well, which really goes with our environmental sustainability core value. This one really sticks out to me. I think you cannot be a Pitzer student without practicing sustainability in your everyday life at Pitzer. So many facets of our campus are super sustainable, including our dorms that have, majority of them have at least a gold LEED certification for sustainability with a gray water system, dual aircon system, a hatch door, so a little barn door that opens up, which is pretty cool. We also have over 75% of our plants on campus are native to California and drought resistant. So if you're ever on Pitzer's campus, it looks sort of like a desert botanical garden, which is pretty cool. Our gym on campus is also one I love to talk about. A lot of the machines in our gym actually power the lights and air conditioning as you use them. So another really cool way to practice sustainability on our campus if environmental analysis isn't necessarily your academic area of focus. But yeah, we also were the first school on the West Coast to divest from fossil fuels over a decade ago. So none of our endowment is invested in any oil, coal, or anything like that. So I really love to emphasize how much our students practice what we preach. That being said, student engagement is another one of our core values. We have one of the biggest student senates per capita in the whole country. We have students sitting on every deciding body on our campus, from smaller things like the aesthetics of the campus to bigger things like which professors are being tenured, things like that. So student voice is super, super important on our campus, and super hard not to be involved in all facets. So lastly, our intercultural understanding core value is the fifth and final one. Intercultural understanding shows up in so many ways too. Like the other Claremont colleges, we also have some really great study abroad programs. We have indirect run programs, which are more your typical staying in the dorms at another college or university and getting those credits transferred back over. And then we also have lots of direct run programs. So all of these will be with a cohort of Claremont students staying in homestays in the country that you go to, as well as having an internship. I was lucky enough to study abroad in Costa Rica when I was a student, and the homestay really helped my Spanish skills, and I really got to get to know the public transportation through going to my internship every day too. So yeah, lots of really cool stuff going on in terms of our core values. That's a little bit about Pitzer. I know you saw some of our policies on the beginning slides. So currently we are test free. In the future, we'll be going back to test optional. Our student body, faculty, staff, and students just voted on this. So that's kind of an exciting update for us. But other than that, we also have some supplemental essays, optional interviews, and we are the only Claremont college to track demonstrated interest. So I always like to note that for students, if you are specifically interested in Pitzer, coming and going to an info session or a tour, whether it's virtual or online, emailing your counselor or doing an interview are all really great boosts to your application. So definitely reach out to us if you're interested. Come learn more. Yeah, and we're excited to chat with you guys. I want to make sure that there is time for questions at the end. But yeah, let us know if you have any more questions about Pitzer. Thanks, y'all.
All right, so we have about 14, 15 minutes left. And so with this time, we're going to use the Q&A to answer some of the questions that we said we'd answer live. So if you have more questions, please feel free to put them in here. I'll be distributing them to my colleagues here as well. I think the first one is about just life outside of the classroom. So how do Claremont students tend to spend their free time when not going to extracurriculars or schoolwork? What are social events like? Do students usually go to sports games? Do they go to student performances, meet up with each other, the dorms, etc.? So can somebody talk about social life on campus?
I can get us started. At the 5Cs, in addition to the 300 plus clubs and organizations that there's always something going on. Scripps, for example, has an organization called SAS, the student government, and they've had things like an ABBA dance party. There's events that get put on. We have something called Flick and Float at the pool, where students can watch movies on the big screen and sit by the pool or in the pool if they want. Students also take advantage of, just spending time together on campus, taking full advantage of our location in Southern California, spending time outside, spending time in Claremont too. Claremont Village is within walking distance of campus, so a lot of students maybe they'll go to the farmers market together on weekends or find their favorite cafes and hang out there. There's also opportunities, of course, to go into LA if students want to take advantage of that, all the outdoor opportunities as well. That's just a snapshot. And if anyone else wants to add to it, please go right ahead.
All right, the next question, I'm going to pass it over to Sydney. Is just what does study abroad look like for each campus? And Sydney's not going to answer for every campus, but just can you give us some examples? Because the reality for most of us is that all of us have study abroad, and it can be homestay or a university stay. But Sydney, can you give some examples in the Pitzer lens?
Yeah, for sure. So there's so much to talk about in terms of study abroad. I will say too, when I was a student, I went on a Pitzer specific study abroad program, but there was a Scripps student on my program. So it's pretty collaborative too. If there's a program that you're really interested in, our community is very close knit. So our offices will always work with you to make sure you can find a program that sounds interesting to you. At Pitzer specifically, if you find a program that has nothing to do even with the Claremont colleges, we can help work out the financial aid and all the logistics for you to go and get your credits transferred over. The direct run programs at Pitzer are really wonderful. Specifically, like I said, the homestays are really influential in terms of like language building skills and building community in the country that you're going to. But yeah, I think at Pitzer, something pretty unique about our study abroad is that you can go up to 3 times. So you can go up to a whole year and a half abroad if you want to. A lot of students will take advantage of multiple different programs. We have semester long programs and summer long programs. But yeah, it's a super big part of our community. We value so much having a global lens, and study abroad really aids this. And it's a really fun opportunity for students too. So yeah, I definitely recommend looking into it wherever you end up. And I know the options at all the schools are plentiful.
There's multiple questions about accessibility services for both physical and mental disabilities in here. So just say that each school has their own accessibility office. And so the big difference between high school and college is that if you have an IEP in high school or 504 plan, you will not always get the same things in college. And so you want to make sure you go talk to that college's accessibility office and say, here's what my diagnosis is, here's the plan that I have in high school, but here's the accommodations, and they will work with you to figure out the accommodations you're going to get on the college campus. Just know that it might not be the same exact thing that you got in high school. So I want to warn you all now, and that's for every college in the US. So I would say that. There's a good question here about what kind of student would fit for a liberal arts and sciences school. So I'm going to toss it over to Muad, starting at CMC.
Yeah, I think in terms of like fit, it's definitely going to be someone who really values a smaller class, a smaller college, just because a lot of our classes here are going to be very discussion based. If you're someone who kind of likes to hide in the back, this may not be the place for you. You're definitely going to be in there in your classes, as well as interdisciplinary learning. So a lot of your courses, they're going to add in a lot of different things, whether it's real world application, things that are happening present time. So your classes and also your courses are going to look very different here.
I'll toss this next one over to Kevin to get us started. So, as you declare your major until your second year, do you apply to the colleges? What do they represent to prospective majors? And so, can you talk about just the declaring of majors at Harvey Mudd, and then I'll pass it over to somebody else to non-Harvey Mudd.
Yeah, at Harvey Mudd, you don't declare your major until the end of your second year. So with us, you might have remembered me talking about the core curriculum, right? You're taking classes in every single discipline of STEM and some of the humanities, social sciences, and the arts before you make a decision on what you ultimately would do. So we don't want to box you into something before you've had that opportunity to explore and reflect on what it is that you want to get your degree in.
Excellent. And a second piece on top of that is, and most of us, you're going to declare your major at the end of your sophomore year. There's another question about managing STEM and art as a major across Claremont, and that's highly encouraged. We want you to be interdisciplinary. And so if you want to study biology, but maybe you want to go into to be a medical illustrator, take some art classes. Why not? Like I'm a Pitzer grad myself, and I have friends who studied studio art who are actually doctors now. And so those things are highly encouraged us to do interdisciplinary things across our campus, and that is a focus, or that is a highlight for all of us. There's a question about research, and so can we just talk about what research looks like? Is it a credit class? Is it non-credit? And just some examples. And so I'll start with Suzanne at Scripps.
Sure. So our faculty are always excited to have students join their research opportunities. So in addition to the research project that's part of core in the first year, a lot of students have opportunities to pursue summer research, whether that's right there on campus in the lab, or for example, this summer we have 18 students going to Thailand with faculty to do water quality research. So there's other opportunities like that that may come up as well. Some of us have different requirements or opportunities to pursue senior thesis research as well. But yeah, summer research is very highly encouraged, and it's across all disciplines. So, when you think of research, you may think of STEM, which we certainly have, is a lot of amazing opportunities. But across all the different disciplines, there are a lot of different research opportunities, arts, humanities, getting that hands-on experience.
And then Kevin, can you talk about clinic and the different projects you've seen at HMC?
Yeah, so at Mudd, we have something, the way that a lot of our students will do research is through our clinic program. Typically done by engineering and computer science majors, but really can be done by any of our STEM students, which is all of them. What happens for clinic is that companies and industries come to us. They pay us about $65K on average to assemble a team of students from different disciplines and majors to work on a program or a project for them. So I already shared with you that example of that tiny little robot that students were building. Another one example that I could share is that our students developed a fake skin prototype to test a transdermal skin injector. So another way that I can put that in more simple terms is that they developed fake skin to test like how medicine can be delivered to you without having to go to the doctor, right? Because that's a really big barrier for people who don't live in areas where they can go to a clinic to get regular access to medicine that needs to be injected into their bodies. So there's lots of really hands-on, impactful projects that are going at Mudd across all of our majors. And that's something that's really exciting. I mean, I can't even share with you all of our projects, and a lot of the times our students have to sign non-disclosure agreements or NDAs because the stuff they're working on is worth trillions of dollars in intellectual property. And again, specifically at Mudd, research is a requirement in order to graduate.
All right, next question I'll pass over to Sydney at Pitzer. And so how easy is it to take classes at other colleges? Are there classes or majors where it's more difficult to do so? Are there caps on any? In general, how many students are taking classes at other colleges? I'll answer the last part, but just the process of.
Yeah, for sure. So I'd say generally it's very easy and encouraged. So all students will sign up for classes on the same portal. And it's based on seniority for the most part. So seniors at all 5Cs will register the first day, subsequently juniors, sophomores, freshmen. There will be a select couple classes that will say maybe CMC only for a certain business class, or Harvey Mudd only for a certain STEM, like high level STEM class. But for the most part, students are encouraged to take classes across the Claremont colleges. Each of the schools will have a little bit bit different of amounts that students will take off their home-based campus. I know Pomona originally said maybe like a third off campus. For Pitzer, maybe it's a little bit closer to a half, but it really has to do with the student too. Usually you'll be most interested in the classes at your home institution. You were like attracted to go to that institution for a reason. Maybe their classes stick out a little bit more to you. But knowing that you always have the option to get a little bit different of a perspective, or maybe there's just like a unique class type that really sticks out to you on the portal when you register, you are welcome to take classes at all five of the schools. When I was a Pitzer student, randomly one semester I took all my classes at Scripps. So you never know.
I did that too, actually. I took more than half my classes at Scripps, and I am not female identifying. I took class at 4 or 5, just not at CMC. There's a question in here. We'll go to CMC, and so can you talk a little bit about the Open Academy and just the diversity of thought on your campus?
Yeah, of course. So Open Academy, like I kind of mentioned in these slides, so it's basically this umbrella organization that CMC has to help promote different things, whether it's constructive dialogue, viewpoint diversity, and so on. So there's various different programs that fall under it. So one of the big ones is like the Athenaeum, but there's a bunch more that fall under the Open Academy. You'll also see it like take on in your classes too, whether it's like discussions that your professor's holding. So it looks different in various ways here at CMC. And I'll definitely say to know what Open Academy is. That'll be one of your supplemental essays on our application too.
So, a question about sports and competitiveness of sports. What I would say is that while we are D3, we have very competitive sports, and so you're not just going to show up and like I'm going to play a sport today. That's not going to happen. Most of our athletes are recruited athletes, and so the coaches have been talking to them starting usually in their junior year. Some of them starting in their senior year, but they are competitive sports. In the last couple of years, each of us has won at least 2 national championships, and we have about 21 sports, both Pomona Pitzer and Claremont Mudd Scripps. Sometimes you play each other in national championships, and that's always fun too because you're going to see them on campus. There are club sports as well, and the club sports are 5C, and so there's like a men's lacrosse team that's club sport, or a skiing team, or rugby. And then there's also intramural sports, and there's both intramurals at Pomona Pitzer and at Claremont Mudd Scripps, and those are more of like, hey, once a week I want to go have fun with friends. My favorite watch to see was inner tube water polo. You're literally on your back, and you look like a little turtle. It's really cute to watch. So that the language requirement depends on each school. So there's questions about that. Super scoring the ACT by show of thumbs. If they're going to submit a test score, if they have SAT or ACT, are you going to super score? Show your thumbs. Cool. All right. What else? Last things in here. I think let's just do this. As we got 2 minutes, because there's multiple questions about, why would a student choose your school? And so we're gonna go reverse founding order. And so what type of student would fit well at your campus? And not to say that every student is the same, so you should not all hear that. But here are the students who enjoy being on our campus. And we'll start with Pitzer first, since you're the youngest.
Yeah, for sure. So, all students that are wanting to learn for the sake of learning feel very collaborative and resonate with our core values are going to do well on our campus. Generally, I'd say our students are really creative, like to spend time outdoors, whether that just be like sitting in the grass or going backpacking. But yeah, students that are just wanting to be a part of a community and make a change for the good.
Yeah, at Mudd, I would say folks who really live our mission statement. So we're talking about engineers who are really interested in math, right? Biologists who care about what our physicists are doing. Mathematicians who, in general, who love taking music classes or theater classes, right? That interdisciplinary lens to make them better scientists who are thoughtful about their impact and the research that they will do later on.
So at CMC, I think definitely responsible leadership is a big one that we're looking for, thoughtful leaders. We also are very hands-on too, so learning for the sake of doing, a lot of hands-on work at CMC, and also that pre-professional mindset. So after graduation, like getting ready to enter into the workforce, and get your feet wet already while your time at CMC.
Yeah, for Scripps, with our core values of integrity, service, leadership, and creativity, students who embody that, knowing that looks different for every student, whether that's being someone your friends go to with questions, or being the one who is a leader, like in a group, for example, in a group setting. So we know it looks different for everyone. Scripps is very collaborative. Students who are willing to jump in and be part of that community. It's a really supportive environment, and students are just cheering each other on. Students who want to be part of that supportive community that really embodies our four core pillars.
I think for Pomona students who are curious and inclusive, like you're gonna meet your match at some point, whether it's in a class, by a peer or something, but are you willing to collaborate with people who didn't always agree with? Are you willing to collaborate with people who come from different perspectives from you? And also, I think students who love having random philosophical conversations at 2 o'clock in the morning really do enjoy being on Pomona's campus. And so, with that, that is all the time that we have today. I want to thank my five panelists, also our five people in the background who are helping us answer questions throughout this. So, thank you all for being here. To the folks in the metasphere, we'll call it, who are watching this webinar, we wish you well in the college process. For the parents who are going through this, for the first timers, it can be stressful, but trust your student. Have lots of conversations, but not daily. Weekly is a much better thing. And for the students, as you start to see campuses, the best questions to ask are what do you love about the campus and what would you change? If you ask random students that, you'll get some good answers and you'll start to get a sense of, can I see myself here? Or maybe this isn't my place, even though on paper it looks great. And so we wish you well with your search process. Hopefully you'll find one of us interesting, if not a couple of us. But most importantly, enjoy your rest of your high school and free living while you got it. With that, have a lovely evening.